SmashFactor.
Ripping driver, going for it. Oh my goodness. How about that tee shot?
That is crazy how far that is.
Wow. John Daly, take a back seat, big fella. How about that drive?
That's an aggressive line. Man, that is beyond long.
Look at this. He's just driven the green. He has just driven the green.
I guess hello world, huh?
Welcome everybody back to the SmashFactor 2019 Valspar Championship Edition. I'm your host, Michael Ruvy. You can catch me on Twitter at Michael Ruvy. You can catch my partners on Twitter at BPSnow11 for Bucks and at I am the Gup for Gup. You can catch us on all the social media outlets at GupsCorner. If you just type in GupsCorner, go to all the social media outlets. We are on there. Today, we're going to review the Players' Championship. We're going to discuss this week's Valspar as well. And just a reminder that there is a bracketless bracket challenge out for all people that want to join a contest that is very unique to GupsCorner. It's awesome. If you don't know what it is, go look at the rules on our contest page. You don't have to be a premium member, but that does lead me to, we encourage you to be a premium member if you want to get in a draw to go to Blue Jack National with Bucks, Gup, and Moose. And that won't be the last time we mention Moose's name today. As always, the SmashFactor is brought to you by Amp Caddy. Use the promo code SMASH and get $20 off your next Amp Caddy. Weather's getting good, so go out and get that now. Affiliates for we have some great affiliates for GupsCorner as well, and please go to fansharesports.com. Type in the promo code GUP, that's GUP, and you can get 20% off your next subscription. And then also go to Fantasy National. Use the tools that we use at fantasynational.com/GUP. If you go onto our website and click on the affiliates page, there is a link there as well. Bucks, how you doing today, bud?
I am doing awesome. A little under the weather right now, but nothing a few Dayquil and Tito's won't fix. So I'm pumped for another awesome week. How are you guys?
Good. You look good, though.
Yeah, duh.
Yeah. Gup, how are you doing, bud?
Doing well. Went to Dallas for the weekend, kids' spring break, went and saw some old friends, played some golf. It was a lot warmer in San Antonio, so I'm glad to be back, which is weird to say because I used to think Dallas was pretty warm, but it's probably 20 degrees warmer here right now than it is in Dallas. So it's glad to be back. Looking forward to, this used to be one of my biggest weeks of the year, March Madness, and probably still is. You're just so inundated with GupsCorner and everything and then golf season in general that it kind of, you forget it sneaks up on you, but I am looking forward to it. I wish I could go out to Vegas, but I have too much stuff planned in the next several weeks to get away. I do want to mention that I know we got a lot of people heading out to Vegas for the week, and some may be going ahead and getting into the Super Contest, which for the first time ever, registration started March 1st. They normally don't start until like July. My proxy and a very good friend of GupsCorner is out there stationed full-time now. Probably the best in the business you'll run across. He's giving anybody that wants to sign up this week, and we'll keep promoting this throughout the season, his lowest offer ever for anybody that mentions Gup or GupsCorner. And you can email him at tom@vegasfootballproxy.com, or you can go to vegasfootballproxy.com, the website, sign up, ask question. Tom's first class, treats all of us well when we're out there in Vegas. So if you're going to go out there and get signed up for Super Contest, reach out to him, and he'll give you a good deal for being a GupsCorner guy. In our bracketless challenge, anybody that doesn't know, it's a little bit different in that you select one team off of each seed line. So you'll select one number 1, one number 2, one number 3, etc. And the point system's mentioned where you mentioned it, but you get points the further they advance. Basically, there's a little more to it than that, but a little simpler, more simple than a full bracket. A little unique idea that JB kind of came across. I love it. I do both, obviously, because I still have all my traditional pools, but a lot of people responded well to this contest. We expected to hit over 1,000 entries. So make sure you get signed up before Thursday at tip off, which will, about 11 a.m. Eastern time, it'll lock.
Yeah, and I'm expected to get 999th, I bet. Please also just a reminder, rate and review us. Click that like button on YouTube. That goes a long way with us. If you leave a review, if you're a subscriber as well, you're going to be entered into a massive prize pack that we're going to give away, and we are collecting materials for that right now as we speak. So I believe we got some more this weekend from the players. So please go and do that. That helps us out a long way. It's really quick, really easy. It takes 2 seconds to hit that like button or leave a review on iTunes or Stitcher or like our Facebook page or stuff like that. If you follow us on any other social medias as well, you're entered in as well. Let's get straight into last week's really quick review. Well, let's get after the good, bad, and ugly of last week. Gup, why don't you lead us off?
The good for me was not much, but I did hit first round leader for Fleetwood, 2-way tie. So it split it, but he was 40-1. So still paid 20-1. Kind of saved the betting week, squeaked out a little bit of profit overall betting wise. Didn't have a whole lot of guys up there Sunday morning on the outrights, but had a couple, but nothing crazy that got close. And I didn't do a lot of live because I wasn't. I'd like to do live when I'm watching them more, and I was away with being out of town. Bad of the week was definitely I had Jim Furyk, 6th in my model last week. Was on him big until I literally wrote my Gups final thoughts column Wednesday at about 9 p.m. and I moved 100% off of them. And so that worked out extremely well for me in DraftKings. So that was the bad of the week, making that decision last minute. And then ugly was definitely DraftKings in general. It's funny because everybody says if I had this guy, or this guy make it, I'd have done well. But forgetting that if you had them, 75% of the field would have as well. And so I don't really look at that because it could have still not done well, even if RCB, KC, all the Cantley was a big one for me. If he makes the cut, I definitely make money on the week. I would have won the 777. I finished 8 points out of the money in the 777 with 4 out of 6. So, and not many had Cantley in that. So that's one I could easily eye down and say that I think I would have top 5'd it for sure, and probably could have won it. But it was a bad week, big week to rein in, remembering your process, your bankroll management, not get crazy, make some notes from it and try to forget it and move on to the next week.
Bucks, how about you, bud?
Yeah, I think what Gup said is really important. I mean, we talked about it last week when we went over the course and what we thought was going to happen. I mean, the way that Sawgrass is designed and set up is really to keep everybody in play as long as you're hitting the ball well. So it suits the guys that hit it a mile. It suits the guys that are focused on hitting fairways. It suits the guys that have a great short game but not great iron play. I mean, there's a lot of ways to get it done at Sawgrass, and we saw that from the leaderboard. And so I share some of Gup's sentiments about it's really difficult in an event like the Players to go too heavy. You really have to be conscious of your bankroll management because really anything can happen. You have to pick your spots like Gup did with Cantlay, like I did with Cantlay. But for me, I mean, my good was the overall player pool. My heaviest owned golfer of the week was Rory. Well, my 2 heaviest guys was Rory number 1 and Xander number 2. So my week was pretty Jekyll and Hyde, but I had 30% Rory and over 20% of Scott, Fleetwood, Rahm, Matsuyama, Garcia. And so I had a lot of really, really good pieces. And so I cashed in quite a few of my lineups. I did have, though, for my bad, I did have Xander as my number 2 owned guy. I had a lot of Glover, a lot of Cantlay. And so much like Gup, and it's a lot of ifs, whats, buts, that kind of thing. But if Cantlay makes the cut, you're making a ton of money. But overall, I mean, I had a good week. I entered in for 10K, so I actually went heavier because I really, really liked not necessarily any one individual player other than Rory, but I really liked the build process and I liked the overall group that I had. And so I actually went a little bit heavier than I normally do. So I was in for 10K across both DK and FanDuel and cashed out for 10.5. So I only had 6% with 6 of 6 because of some of those guys I mentioned. But it was good enough up top. This top 5 in the 44 heading into Sunday, and then had a meltdown with Poulter and some other guys. But overall, I had a great week, and the Players is one of my favorite events of the year because of how dramatic it can be on the back nine Sunday. Ruvy, how'd you do?
Not good. I actually heading into I think it was Rom when he's still in the lead after he birdied 13. I was winning 2 tickets for the 555. I was pretty high up in there. I just played a lot of qualifiers this last week and some other stuff, but I had 2 tickets. One of mine was the only 6 of 6. It was in a $25 qual, so for the 555, and I was the only 6 of 6. And every one of my guys put it in the water on 17. Every one of them, all 6 of them. And so once Rom fell out, I fell off. Actually, I got second again in another qual, so not good. And then the ugly would be Leishman and Sung J M. The finish for them two, barely missing the cut. That was because of the water ball on 17, I think, again. That wouldn't hurt me because those would have been pretty good. It would have made my profits go up. I didn't have any profits, obviously. So let's get into this week's. I've got a couple quick shout outs. The SmashFactor listener leagues. When I said Moose was going to get brought back up again, Moose won one of the SmashFactor listener leagues.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, they both had the exact same score, both leagues. So Moose, congrats there. And then the second one was Slow Talking Walter. Couple of guys that did really well this week. JMac 1014 came out with 11K this week. Mobes 21 came up with $400, and Eric Mix 29 had another good week. He had a good week last week. Came out $800 from what he showed. So let's get into this week's course preview at Innisbrook Resort and Golf Club. Bucks, take it away.
Yeah, man, appreciate it. We're at Innisbrook at the Copperhead course. This is one of the more popular stops on tour. Much like, honestly, I kind of liken it to a sawgrass type course. It's a player favorite. It can be really, really difficult. And we see from the leaderboard that it really keeps a lot of guys in play. Average cut line here is 3 over par. Average winning score is 9 under par. So difficult event. Normally in the top 10 most difficult courses on tour. 7,300 yards, par 71. We do have Bermuda greens overseeded with POA, and then fairways and rough that are Bermuda overseeded with rye. And it's supposed to be really, really thick out there this week. The GCSAA, the Superintendents Association, basically already sent out their course guidelines. They're trying to get the course to, and it's 3 inches this week of Bermuda, and it's overseeded, so it's thick. Plus, we have a guy in our group that has a guy who's been playing out there, and he said the same thing. So the fairways are tight, 26 yards wide, and the rough is long. But the really interesting thing about Innisbrook is just the way that they've laid out the course. I mean, much like we talked about with Sawgrass last week, you had a really wide variety of golf holes. You had short par 4s, you had long par 4s, short par 3s, long par 3s. At Innisbrook, you kind of see the same thing, but in a little different experience. So at Innisbrook, you have 5 par 3s, which is really rare, and they average 212 yards, so super long. Then you have 9 par 4s, 1 under 400 yards, 5 between 4 and 450, and then 3 over 450. And then you have 4 par 5s all playing over 550 yards. And so you see a really wide variety in your shot makeup, in your approach shots. So inside of 150 yards, you see 32% of your approach shots. From 150 to 175, you see 20% of your approach shots. 175 to 200, you see 25% of your approach shots. And then from 200 plus yards, you're seeing 22%. So you have 50% almost of your approach shots coming from 175 to 200 plus, and then 50% basically coming from 100 to 175. So you have this really wide variety. But the really important thing to note is that Innisbrook is not your typical Florida flag golf course. You have rolling undulations. You have steep elevation changes from tee box to green. It's tree lined. There's not a lot of homes on the course, so it's very secluded. It's in the woods. And like I said, it's really, really narrow. And so you have to be on off the tee. You have to be hitting your irons really well. And then, of course, when you have greens that are under tour average in sizing, you have to make sure that you have a solid short game. But overall, this is a really, really fun event because of the way that the scoring ends up. I mean, par here is a good number. Most of your scoring comes from the par 5s, which is pretty typical, but especially here. And so really it's about taking advantage of the par 5s, the short par 4s, and then holding on for dear life on the other holes. This is a really, really difficult golf course. Typically you see under 15 guys at even or better every year. So difficult. Bogey avoidance is going to be huge, but this should be a really, really fun week.
Yeah, thank you for that. Let's get straight into this week then, and let's see what kind of key stats we're looking at. Gup, why don't you start us off with the key stats you're looking at?
Yeah, so this week, similar to some of the things Bucks mentioned in the course preview, I think approach is big for me every week, but it'll probably be the biggest industry wide. I would assume if anybody researching the stats in the past. Par 5 scoring, in general, on a course like this, I'll take a look at. I won't have it as weighted as high, especially because I think this par 5 scoring here is a little bit different than some of the other courses that normally allow for the ease of scoring. I'll kind of look at more of the history of how these guys have done here in the past on par 5. I'll weigh that heavier than necessarily overall. Bogey avoidance obviously is one of the big ones this week. Greens and red gain. Gup's secret sauce is back. And then birdie or better gained is a stat. And I don't use that stat a lot, but looking at the last 3 years, the guys that came in here in that category high have seemed to do well. In my course history, I have the last 5 years in there, but I'm really weighing the last 3 because of the remodel that Bucks mentioned. So, especially if I see someone that was average to below and then the last 3 years has either done really well or really bad, I'm putting special notice to that to see how did they adjust with the changes in the course. Yeah. There's not a lot of them, but there are some that seem to stick out. Overall, I'm not factoring course history a ton for 2 reasons. There's a lot of guys here, some big names that have never played this course, which I think they're putting on their schedule.
DJ,
Day, Rom. So I think I don't know if they're getting it out of their way for the 4-year deal or if they're adjusting their schedule based on the new rotation. This was 2 or 3 weeks earlier last year, this tournament. So we'll see some of that in the next 2 or 3 years where we can start to see if guys are adjusting their schedule. I don't know if a DJ is playing this week, the WGC, knowing he's going to take the Valero off and go practice. So he wanted, we don't know that yet, but that's the assumption that can be made is they want to get, a couple more competitive rounds in. Next week's a little goofy match play. It's not. So this is really, for a lot of these guys, the last full tournament before Augusta. So maybe that's why they decided to do it. I don't have those answers by any means, but because most of these guys aren't going to play Valero, unfortunately. But some of the guys that are playing Valero aren't here. Jordan, Ricky Fowler. So it almost seems like they pick or choose between this or Valero. So looking forward to that. It's a little. So I downgraded tournament history. Recent form's probably as high as it's been all year because we have a solid group of tournaments feeding the last 6 to 8 weeks. I obviously downgrade the Puerto Rico results in I almost virtually nothing, but they're there a little bit. Other than that, I'm looking at the last 6 weeks on the recent form as well. And stats is my heaviest weighting this week of the major components.
Bucks, how do you differ, or are you the same in a lot?
Yeah, I'm pretty similar. I'm glad Gut mentioned the course redesign because that did shift some of the stats over the last few years. So when they redid this course, they basically regrassed everything. But the big change that they made was that they redid all of their bunker complexes and moved them around in the fairways to make them more in the landing zones for the guys that hit a mile currently. So rather than the bunkers being 270 off the tee, they were moved to 285 to 320. And so you do see a lot of less than driver being played on this course, which is why accuracy is so important. They have really narrow fairways, thick rough. So for me, I have a pretty heavy weighting on good drives and greens and regulations gained. I agree with Gup that approach is going to be one of my largest categories this week. It's pretty clear looking at the last few years that the guys that lead in greens and regulation gained, the guys that lead in strokes gained approach are the guys that are finishing top 10. And so those are two big stats for me. The next biggest stat for me is going to be bogey avoidance. When you have a course like Copperhead where the last 4 holes that you're playing, I know the last 3 are technically the snake pit, but the last 4 holes, realistically, you have a par 3, a par 4, par 3, par 4. None of those 4 holes have a birdie or better rate of over 8%. And so you have 4 holes where you're literally hoping for par and just trying to get out or off the course without having a blemish on your last few holes. So most of the courses like that as well. So bogey avoidance is going to be a really key stat for me this week as well. And then lastly, I do think that you have a smaller percentage of greens that are hit at this event compared to normal. And so for me, that just brings scrambling and putting into play. So I'm going to be looking at scrambling. I'm going to be looking at putting inside 15 feet. That's typically where those par saves are coming from. So those are what my key stats this week are. What do you have, Ruvy?
I don't have a whole lot different, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. I think I just have fairways gained in there instead of good drives gained, but I think you can mix and match those however you feel.
Yeah, just for clarification, so good drives is basically either hitting a fairway or when you miss a fairway but still hit the green.
Okay. That helps me out. Thank you. I don't have much more then. Let's get straight into this week's picks then. Let's go with this week's locks, flocks, and flops. So the lock of the week, 10K or above. Bucks, why don't you lead us off on this one?
Yeah, this one's really easy for me. Much like last week was, I really did like Rory last week. This one is easy as well. It's DJ for me. It's not even really that close. He's absolutely smoking the field when it comes to iron play. A guy who usually sets himself apart with the driver, but he's just fire right now with his irons and wedges. This is a less than driver course. I think DJ will be able to take advantage of some of the par 5s where you have to carry a bunker that's 310, 305, something like that. But I think he's going to hit a lot of those driving irons we saw him hit in Mexico. But does it really matter for him? I mean, this guy hit 50% of his fairways last week and still hit close to 80% of his greens. And so I know the rough length is going to be different here, but the guy is on fire. Also, DJ came in 5th last week. I don't know if you guys heard the stat, but DJ came in 5th last week with 14 missed putts inside 10 feet.
Well, I know he was the only one and done I submitted, so I was hoping for that.
It's crazy. I mean, he absolutely lapped the field when it came to approach. So even with minimal improvement with his flat stick this week, I think he wins. And if for some reason his putter gets hot, I think he wins by like 6, something like that.
Gup, how about you, bud?
Yeah, so I'm a little torn here. I really think DJ, this is one of those weeks that, and I hadn't listened to a single industry thing yet. Mondays are too hard for me at my real job to keep up, but this is either going to be everybody goes DJ because it looks too easy, which historically he seems to not perform up to those standards. I do think he's closer to the 2017 DJ than he is, any other time in his career. So it worries me. I'm curious to see how people start the industry talk and everything with lineup construction, because obviously with him being 11.5, the highest by I think $500. If you start there, it gets a little thin. And this is a good field, probably on par with Honda, maybe even a little better. I don't know. I hadn't analyzed it, soup to nuts yet, but I definitely wonder where people will go. I think people may try to fade DJ and just build a little more balanced. If he's going to be, and I said this last week, I did the Wednesday night. I said, if you're going to continue to give me in 15% or less, I'm going to hammer him every single week. So I will change Wednesday just like I did last week when projections came out, and I moved 30% shares over to him Wednesday night because he was 15% because he's just that good not to do it.
Yeah.
But my number 2 guy in my model, and a guy who I think as well is in 2017 form, and he's $1,400 cheaper, and if he finds any kind of putter, can win this thing as well, and it's Sergio. Been on him for several weeks now. No reason to come off. We'll probably play both of them. My big decision will be on a couple of my single entry stuff. Do I go DJ or Sergio and try to figure that out? That'll come Wednesday, but I love both of them. But my one lock of the week as of now is going to be Sergio. Number 1 in my stat model. I think he's priming and get ready for Augusta. And, great recent form. He only played this course once, and it was last year, and he got 4th. So I like that he played it and DJ hasn't. I think this is a course that if you have played it, recently, it could be to your advantage some. But DJ's elite, DJ's DJ, so I'm not putting anything there. I equally would go to him as quick Wednesday night if I need to, but I like Garcia right now.
Yeah, I actually those guys are 1 and 3 in my model as well. So I really like them. I've got Rahm up there at 4, but I'm not sure that this course actually fits Rahm right now. I know he played really well with the irons this last week, and he is a good iron player, but he does rely a lot on that driver. And like you said, Bucks, this is the less than driver course. And as we saw on Sunday, sometimes he doesn't make the best decisions right now. So I'm gonna go.
Do you guys think? Okay, good. I know you're going Sergio. Do you guys think though that whole caddy decision with Rahm carries over to this week?
No, I don't think so. I'm like a Rahm truther though, obviously. So I'm probably the wrong guy to ask. I think Rahm is still. I think I'm gonna pick him right now to win the Masters. But that's just me.
I don't mind Rahm. I actually was, pre-model and all that stuff, was leaning towards hoping he would come out good because just like Day 2 weeks ago, the injury and all that, now you got Rahm. He's, the controversy, the bullshit, blah, blah, blah. I was hoping to be a spot to get on, but his approach game is not even average to this field right now in the stuff I ran. And so I really am leaning heavy on approach. And if for 11,000, I need that to be on fire. And he hasn't played.
It was bad the 2 tournaments before this, and he gained 7 strokes on approach this last tournament, but that could be an anomaly.
And I don't like that he hasn't played this course. Just because of what we saw last week, he's got a hot head, and if he gets frustrated at the course or the rough or he can't hit driver all over the place. We know him well that he prefers to put the driver in the hand and bomb and gouge it. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if he's going to be able to do that here. He's going to get in trouble, and it's a coin flip with me. And so I'll just probably go elsewhere, but I can see him being a good play if he's going to come in low own. I think he'll come in low own. I think he'll be 12% or less at that price.
I'm thinking he's going to be like 7% this week. Something crazy.
I'll probably have some wrong if he's 7%. If he's trending towards that way. I mean, that's when you get him in, I think. But I could be wrong. I've been wrong a lot. But let's jump straight into our flocks for the week between 7K and 9,500. Gup, I'm going to let you lead this one. Go ahead.
Yeah, this will be interesting because normally this is the spot where you look for, especially me, I look for, well, who's the guy that screwed everybody over, and you kind of jump back on them. But now there's like 10 that you could go
There's
to.
A lot, yeah. They're packed into that category.
Yeah, I don't know if there's an advantage there. I think ownership will kind of be a little key there. But as we saw last week, I think the ownership game is getting harder to predict in the sense that I think last minute, especially on the big weeks, this isn't quite as big week, but it normally is, that, people start thinking that people are thinking what they're thinking, and then they outthink themselves, and all of a sudden the ownership doesn't mean shit, right? And we saw that Wednesday night. I saw spots where Day was 20% projected on, which I thought was asinine. And then I saw him as low as 8. So everybody's got a different mindset, and people are making ownership projection pools, and they're making, don't use more than 80% of ownership projections. I'm like, I just don't believe in that. And I don't do it personally because I don't trust not even my own ownership, which I'm, fairly decent at it, not great, and I don't think anybody could be great if you're looking at top 50 or 5%. If you throw in all the 1%ers and stuff, we all look good, right? I think I was 89% last week, but when you start projecting the guys that matter, it's a little tougher. And I just don't trust that stuff enough to gauge my lineup building by it. But for those that do, best of luck to them. But I more look at leaving salary on the table. I like ownership to gauge by all means, but I think as the industry gets smarter, I ultimately am going to go back to I'm going to play who I want to play. And there may be a couple guys that I think are going to be just uber chalk, and I have no doubt about it, and I may move offwards. But moving guys that are projected at 19% and you liked them at 15%, who who cares? Like, it's 4% projected difference. It's not enough to move me. And I think people are making too many mistakes on moving around off that stuff. If you got a week where a Finau is going to be 32% or, Casey or something like that, then yes, it's clear that it's going to be high on, make a move. But other than that, I go back to get your best 6 guys you think that are in there and play them. Having said that, I don't mind going back to Kokrak this week. $8,600. He's high back in my model. Top 6. He doesn't. The only thing he comes across negative on, I'll have to deep dive into it, is the par 5 scoring. Other than that, he is top 9 in every single one of my rankings this week, and so I'm going to do a little more diving into that, see how he shakes out there. But as of now, I like him. A guy that has my eye, and he is a momentum player. So he's a guy you can kind of throw stats and everything out, and he's just hot, and it's Kisner. 8,500. He's top 10 this week in my model. He's finished top 27 last 3 times. He's only played this course twice, and it was pre-designed before the changes. He had a miscut in a 60, and I pay little or to no attention to that at all because he hasn't played the last 3 years. He's a different player. If anybody that followed Kisner, change his game, and he's just a streaky player. Right now he's hot, so I'm going to follow him. The last guy's a guy I've already released today, betting-wise, to the Slack channel, and it's Sung J M. I love him. He's due to be a winner. At the price, I really, really like him. And so, I'm all right with being on him. It was really, really close between him and another guy I'll bring up at the round table, and I'll move on so you guys can get going. Is RCB was my almost fourth one, but I'm gonna play Sung J. I like him a lot this week, and I'll be able to wait.
Bucks, how about you, bud?
Gup, I was praying your third guy was gonna be JT Poston, and we were gonna go 3 for 3 because my first guy this week. My three are going to be Kevin Kisner, Jason Kokrak, JT Poston. I am going to go Kisner. A lot of what you mentioned, when he heats up, when he gets confident, he eventually has a tournament where he's contending. Last week, he led the event in driving accuracy, was top 10 in greens in regulation. On a lesson driver course, I think this sets up perfect for Kiz. Also, over the last 4 years, he's averaging 5 top 10s a year. And so he's due to have one of those. He's got 8 straight cuts made, all hovering around top 25. I personally think he top 10s this week, if not better. Kokrak, second guy, has like 20 straight made cuts, top 5 in DK points, top 5 in good drives, top 5s in greens and regs, strokes gain approach. All over his last 24 rounds, but that trend continued last week as well. He hit a ton of greens, just needed some putts to fall. I'm going to continue to ride that Kokrak train while he's chugging along. And then Poston, he's jumped over 125 spots this year in the World Golf Rankings. He's got no missed cuts this year. When you look at his last 24 rounds, he doesn't really pop off the model, but he's just been consistent all the way around. And especially when you look at the rolling report, he's been consistent. Last week he had no doubles or worse, and seemed really comfortable at Sawgrass. And we've already talked about it. While they aren't truly alike, they're both really balanced, difficult golf courses when you compare Sawgrass to Copperhead. So if he can continue that bogey avoidance trend, and his putter has been heating up. If he can continue that bogey avoidance trend and continue to putt well, I think that Poston will deliver as well.
Poston, I think he just had one bad round at the API. It was the final round. So, yeah, he actually been playing good outside that. You're right. I actually have one guy the same as Gup, and it is obviously going to be Sung J again because I'm obviously love the guy as well. He burned me last week, obviously, but I'm going right back to him. Another guy I really like, kind of the same kind of model as Kisner, where when he gets hot, he really starts to play well. It's Brandt Snedeker, and Brandt played well with the players.
I like Brandt.
Yeah, he doesn't usually play very well with the players, and he played really well obviously last week. So at 8,400, I'll have a heavy dose probably of Mr. Sneds there. And then the last one I have, because it is a less than driver course, and I seem to go to this guy every time it's a less than driver course, is Russell Knox at 8,100. He's been playing much better. I've looked at his stats, and in my rolling report, he's been doing much better consistently in the top 22 is his lowest ranking of the last 50 rounds in my report. So he's 17th. Go ahead.
Does his putting bother you at all?
Yeah. I'm not one of those guys that looks at putting as much, but yeah, he's been really bad putting the last 3 weeks. But his approach game, if you look at his approach game,
it's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been stellar, and tee to green's been very good, and he actually did well off the tee last week. So, his putting bothers me. His around the green scares me a little, but I'm hoping that he has more of a waste management putting type week where it's somehow he gains, and that's what I'm kind of hoping for, I guess. So that's who I like there. Let's get into the flops of the week. 2 guys that strike us as potential guys that won't return their value. I'm going to let Bucks lead this one off. Go ahead, Bucks.
Yeah, so my first guy is probably seems like an obvious choice, but it's going to be Usti. $9,300. I'm going to avoid a guy that has 2 missed cuts and a 56th in his last 4 events. His approach, his putting, bogey avoidance were all really bad last week. I just don't see when you have a week like last week where you make a ton of doubles and stuff like that, and then you have to go play a course like the Copperhead where you have a ton of trouble, you have some thick rough, par's a good number. That's not the right track to use as like a get right event. And so I'm going to be avoiding Usti this week. My second guy, this may not be a popular opinion because I know a lot of guys really like him in general, but I'm going to fade Bud Cauley. He has 4 missed cuts in his last 9 events. And if you look at the rolling report, he's definitely trending in the wrong direction. Made a bunch of doubles last week, 9 other bogeys outside of the doubles. This course, again, is going to present the same type of troubles that Sawgrass did. And with his struggles off, just don't see him having a real chance to contend this week. So Usti, Bud Cauley, those are my 2 flops. Gup, what do you got?
Yeah, Gup, what are you looking at right now for your flops?
First one, I agree with Bucks is Usti. Same reason, so no reason to dive into that. Second guy for me, it's just the way the track lays out. He's only played this course once, at least since 2013, and it's Bubba. I don't, for the price, I don't really like him here. What the track demands, I don't know if that fits his game the best. His rolling stats is actually going well, and he's a guy that will be in my early sights for next week. Obviously, he played well there last year, at WGC Austin, especially if he winds up missing the cut here, gets out early. He's a guy I'm looking for next week, but I'm going to fade him this week at 8,900.
Yeah, this is that type of course where, like, I could definitely, much like a ROM, like, if you hit your ball in the rough 3 or 4 or 5 straight holes and then have to step up on a 220-yard par 3, you can get frustrated real quick, and that's not ideal to have guys like a Bubba or Rom if they happen to have a couple bad holes to kind of change their mental attitude and get back on track. It's just a really tough event to do that at.
Yeah, I've got the 2 guys might not be really highly owned right now, and they're probably going to be like, I might get the, of course they're fades, but I've heard some narrative so far about Danny Lee. And I had a buddy tell me on Wednesday last week that he was at the practice round. And I think I sent you guys this text that he said Danny Lee is hitting 2 to 3 shots on every shot right now, 2 to 3 balls. So he's lost right now. I think he's trying to find something. So Danny Lee at 7,300 is not a good price for me to ever get on that. So the last guy that he made the cut, and I think he was a popular pick last week, but Brendan Grace at 8,000, he performed very poorly on the weekend. And he had I was a guy with a lot of doubles too last week.
Yes.
So
ton of them.
yeah, Brendan Grace is going to be my second guy there. So like I said, they're not the most obvious, or they are the most obvious, I guess. So apologize for that, but let's go with our sleeper of the week. One guy under 7K, 1 or 2, whatever you're looking at. Gup, I'm going to let you lead this one off. You see, I did the switching back and forth this week pretty decent. Come on.
You did. Yeah, so
transition, yeah.
The first guy, doesn't have a lot of data on him. I remember watching him at the Honda in person and making notes of how much I liked his game. I hope he's still kind of under the radar. He's on my potential bet card already, but 6,700 is KH Lee. Really liked him. So similar to Neiman when I watched him at the Masters. Getting to see him in person, I really liked his ball striking. I think could suit well at this course. He doesn't have a lot of rounds, obviously being over here, but I'll do a little more research on him, but as of now, I definitely like him. Second guy that's just kind of right there on my radar as well is Scott Stallings. Like where his game's at. Obviously, big transformation body-wise. Mental-wise, it seems to help as well. He seems to be in the right place. He's number 5 in my overall stat model. He's a guy that the reason why I mentioned what I did earlier. So pre-remodel, he was cut. 2017, he finished 68th, and last year he finished 31st. So hadn't deep dive yet to see if anything popped in the stats, but seeing that since the remodel, he's improved the last 2 years, and he's coming in pretty good in my stat model. He missed the cut last week, but he did finish T40 week before at 6,900. He's a guy that's on my sleeper radar.
All right, yeah. How about you, Bucks?
Yeah, so Gup already mentioned him, but my sleeper, I'll mention a couple, but the guy that I chose was KH Lee. So $6,700. I'm going to channel my Kenny Kim and take a 27-year-old South Korean trending in the right direction. He had 5 straight missed cuts to start the year. And then top 25 there, top 10 at the Honda. And over the past 12-8, 4 rounds, he really is trending in the right direction. He's top 15 in my rolling report. So I'm going to be firing him up. 2 real quick ones that I'm going to mention as well. Julian Edelane, love that guy this week. Super, super cheap. As far as a guy that's sub $6,500, I would assume that he's about as safe as they come to kind of give the cut a run. So I like Julian Edelane. And the last guy I'm going to mention, and this is just because, and I'm not going to be playing him this week, maybe a sprinkle on the $5 just to say I played him, but Akshay Bhatia is an amateur that's playing this week. If anybody listening doesn't know who he is a junior golfer who's 17 years old, or maybe might be 18 now. But basically, he decided to forego college to go pro. And not only is he one of the best junior golfers in the world, the best junior golfer in the world, he's approaching number 1 in just amateur ranking in general. And he has the chance to be the first high school golfer, or I think the first high school golfer in a while, but maybe the first high school golfer ever to make the U.S. Walker Cup. So he's a lanky left-handed kid that hits the ball a mile, incredible short game. And he's hopefully something like a Ty Tryon doesn't really happen, but he is all the game in the world. And so hopefully he keeps that head on his shoulders, continue to develop his game, because he really is pretty incredible. If you have a couple minutes here and there, just get on YouTube and watch some of his stuff, because it's impressive.
Yeah, the guy I am going to go after at this range, I went after him last time at the API, and he paid off. He made the cut. He's made 3 straight cuts, 3 straight top 30s as well. It's Adam Schenk. He's been doing his approach game has been very good. He didn't putt well last time out, but he had a week off now between the players, and at 6,700, is that what he's at? I'm sorry, I messed that up. But I think he's close to that. But at his price, I really like Adam Schenk. So let's move on now. I've got some 69. Thank you. I've got some head-to-head picks. I know that I sent you guys the outline before I put those in because pricing wasn't out, but I've got those now. They should be quick. I've got 5 of them this week for us.
Let's do it.
All righty. 2 guys that we actually haven't talked about yet. Patrick Reed versus Keegan. Bucks, lead us off.
I'm going Keegan, just for the pure fact of I feel he's a safer player. Maybe not as good overall, but I think he's a safer player. Definitely more accurate off the tee. Has been just really, really good with his iron game. Obviously, he has his putting woes, but I think Keegan, obviously Reed likes his course. We saw it last year, but I think Keegan is a safer play.
Gup, how about you?
Yeah, Keegan. I think Reed will be more talked up because of the course history here. Even though he kind of sucked on Sunday, last week, but I'll take Keegan. I think a lot of people will move off Keegan at 9,400, so he could be a sneaky play there at that price.
Tough price point there for him.
I actually like Reed. I like his par 3 and his course history, obviously, so he probably will get tucked up. I actually had him on Sunday, by the way, in a showdown, so that wasn't very good.
Yeah, I think who was it? Baroff had he had a double or something with him and Wallace maybe to win, I don't know, like 15, 20 grand. He 3-putted 18. It's brutal. Brutal.
This one is, I guess I probably know what side you guys are on, but Snedeker versus Kisner. I assume both Kisners there.
I like both, but I'm definitely on Team Kisner this week.
Gup, how about you?
Same. Both of them are in my pool right now, but Kisner's slightly ahead.
Cool. I was obviously on Snedeker. So let's move to the next one. Russell Knox versus Charles Schwartzel. Charles did win here before. So Bucks, who do you like?
Yeah, this is a tough one, but I am going to go Knox. His iron game, his approach game, even his GIRs over the last 12 to 24 rounds are trending in a much better direction.
Gup?
Yeah, it's I know, again, a close one. I would lean Schwartzel right now. He's inside top 10 in the model. I like both of them right now. I love Knox. I played him a lot last week, bet him a lot last week as far as matchups. So both are right there, but I would lean Schwartzel right now.
I know that Gup is on this one of them. So, Gup, you probably don't need to answer unless you want to, but Sung JM versus Ollie. So, Bucks, I'll let you answer that one first since we probably know where Gup's at on that one.
Yeah, I like him and his upside. He's really, really strong iron player. So,
all right. And Gup, I assume M right there. Any comments on Ollie?
He's not going to be my player pool.
Cool. That does it. I'm obviously on him as well. But Danny Lee versus Ches Revy. I put these two in there because they're both on the outside of the President's Cup looking in, and it's getting close to that time. And Bucks, any?
Yeah, I'm going to go Revy. Just his approach game is solid. Really solid, good drive percentage as well. And like you said, I think Danny Lee is trying to find something. He's lost that driver. His driver is a big catalyst to his confidence. And so I just don't think he's there right now.
Gup?
Literally 3 spots separating the two in the model ranking right now. I'd probably lean Revy only because Lee, his blow up potential is so big in this course. You can't have that much blow up and survive it. So I'd lean Revy a little bit, but I really don't like where Revy's game is either right now. So that's a toss up.
All right. So you're kind of a no play on both. But yeah, I don't see Gup's rankings, by the way. So I don't know that they're 3 spots ahead beforehand. I'm just picking guys that are close in value on DraftKings. I would pick Revy as well, but let's go to a roundtable real quick. Gup, I'm gonna let you lead this one off. Again, let's give me 2 to 3 guys that we haven't mentioned so far that you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, man, I had a lot this week.
Then give them to me, whatever you need.
There's, a lot of deep diving that'll go into this week. I think there's some fatigue from the players, which typically, historically, for me, has been a good week when a lot of guys kind of check out and it's a lower, quote unquote, lower stacked field. So I kind of woke up refreshed and ready to go. And like I mentioned in the opening, was to move past it. We hadn't Mitch Furyk yet. I'm interested to see, I assume just gut reaction at 9,200 that people are going to say, no way. He's actually, once again, 3rd in my model. Last week he was 6th, as I said earlier, and completely moved off of him. So it would scare me to do that again. He seems inspired. He seems, it wasn't just 1 week. He's been playing. He finished 9th at the Honda, watched a lot of them there, 37th at the Genesis. He's played this course 4 of the last 5 years, made the cut every year. The only thing that's going to scare people off is the 9,200. And he is going to be tough to fit in a lot of builds. and feel real comfortable about it with other people around there. But he's a guy I'll keep my eye on. Glover, same way. You know, killed a bunch of lineups, including mine last week. I don't think he'll be chalk at all. He'll be opposite this week, but he's right back up there. I mean, his stats are still there. Before last week, he'd finished 4th, 10th, was on a really good streak, but and he's made the cut both times this year. Again, it's going to be the price with him, 9,000, be something to keep an eye on. A guy that is in my player pool that just didn't fit in anywhere in the pods yet is RCB. I kind of mentioned him earlier. He's top 12 right now. I have no issues with him. Missed the cut, maybe burned some people. I had him in a few lineups last week, but nothing majority. So I don't mind going back to him. Great ball striker, putts well. Short game's not as good as it has been, but I don't have any issues with RCB. Already talked about Rom, what I kind of thought about him. Probably the only other two was Neiman. He's almost an auto bet for me, and he's kind of right there where he should be in my model, low 40s. This is the kind of course I think he can kind of get around and not, he can keep it in play, score. And I like his game for like a -8, -9 type of tournament. And so he will be right there. And then the last one, Bucks kind of likes a lot. I don't know if he does this week, is Sam Ryder. He's not going to pop off like anywhere in general, but he's right there, top 35-ish in the model. Potential bet for me. Played this course last year, so I really like that he had done that. Stat-wise, he's number 6 in my entire model. And so guys like that, similar to, Kisner and those, he's, especially at his price, I can fit him in some lineups this week as well.
Bucks, how about you?
Yeah, so I'll go down the list of just a couple guys. Gary Woodland is a guy I really like this week. When you look at his ability to drive it really accurately and really far, I think that this course sets up really well for him. His putter does bother me, but overall, I think his off the tee game, his driver, he's going to hit a lot of fairway woods. I think that's going to keep him in play this week. We already mentioned Keegan, I really like. I'm going to go back to this guy. He burned a lot of people last week, a lot, including myself. I had like 25% of them. But Lucas Glover, I'm going to hop back on and hope to get a bounce back event from him. I think that he's going to be fairly low owned with where he's at from a price perspective. Let's see, who else? Oh, a guy that I really, really like this week. Two guys I really like this week in the low 7s. Nick Taylor, love this guy this week. All around good player, trending in the right direction for me. He just does everything pretty well. Sung Kang is the other one. I've been on this dude for weeks and weeks and weeks. From min price $6K. Right now he's 7,200. Made the cut last week at the Players. So I'm going to be playing a bunch of him as well. And then there's a couple guys down here in the 6s that we won't get into. I'll probably mention later on in the week. But the one guy that we didn't talk about that I do like is Sabatini.
Yeah, I like first guy I'm going to mention is Ryan Moore, coming off he had a really good, obviously, Players, but I also have him ranked over the last 24 rounds. He's been getting a lot better. He's 27th in my model. Ryan's going to do what Ryan's going to do. He's going to put the ball in the fairway and hopefully stay out of trouble. So at 8,700, I think that's a pill that I don't know if a lot of people are willing to swallow with Ryan Moore right now. So I kind of like it. Next one, he kind of came alive last week under the radar. I think he finished 11 under at the end. Joel Damon seems to have found his approach game again, which is nice to see. I like Joel Damon. He played well here. I believe he was played well here last year. I can check that out, actually. Or he might not even have played here last year. I thought this was the course with him and Sung Kang in that dispute, but obviously I'm wrong. But I like Joel Damon, so I think he could do all right this week. A guy that has never made a cut here. He's been 4 times, but he's only played the redesign 1 time. That I like a lot. When I'm just thinking of short courses that not necessarily short, but less than driver courses, coming from the Web Tour, he's going to hit a lot of fairways. He's ranked 12th in my model, but his course history is awful. It's Roberto Castro. I really like him on a course like this. So, and then the last guy this is just a dart if you're going to play it because he played well last year, but I obviously always like Sam Burns a little bit. So he gained 10 strokes putting last year here though. So that's kind of hard to do again.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I mean, he was like bad at everything else, and he hasn't been very good lately. But he obviously is a good putter on Bermuda. He loves to putt Bermuda. He gained 7.2 strokes putting at the API. I mean, the dude can putt on Bermuda or whatever. I believe that was Bermuda. I don't know. They're all different, but on the East Coast, he can putt. So Sam Burns, another one. Let's get straight into the betting strategy of the week.
Yes.
40-1 and under. Gup, what do you got for us?
Yeah, there's really only two. I'm gonna try to keep it short. I know we're trying to keep this shorter these days. Is Woodland Garcia? This isn't a card that when I got DJ up top, I'm willing to go this mid range very often. If I take one of those two, it'll be tonight, and then I'll have to kind of move deeper. More than likely, I'm gonna go mid to high, and if DJ wins or something like that, then that's just something I'll have to deal with. But those numbers seem a little short for me. If I could get Garcia at 20 plus, I maybe be on it already, but I don't like the numbers real well other than that.
Bucks, anything there for you?
No, I'm in the same category. I really do think DJ wins this week, and I'm not going to put 20, 30, 40, 50 bucks down on like a Webb Simpson or Garcia when I really do think DJ has the nuts this week. So I'm going to do what Gup's doing, going mid-high, and hoping if DJ doesn't win that one of those guys does.
I've got nothing highlighted there as well right now. So how about between 45 and 75, Gup?
Yeah, some of the same guys I mentioned earlier. I like, and I probably won't have a lot. I've already bet M, so that was released earlier, so that's done. I like Knox. I like RCB, Kisner, and Kokrak. Those five are on my short list right now for guys that I potentially like in this range.
Bucks?
Yeah, I mean, I like Glover, Kokrak, and Kisner, but Kisner's the one at 45 that I would bet.
Yeah, Bovada's not giving very good odds because I got Glover at 33 and Kisner at 40. So,
gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, so they're not very good over here. But I do have Sung Jae and I like Brandt also at 55. So on mine. So
yeah, I don't mind him. I like where his game's at.
Yeah. Now 80 to 120. Gup.
Yeah, two guys kind of jumped early. One is Sung Kang that Bucks mentioned earlier. Don't mind him. He's on the short list for my player pool as well. A few things I noted on him I need to dive into a little bit, but he's 100 to 1 on 5 dimes right now, or was earlier when I pulled it.
Still is.
Another guy I really hadn't mentioned, and I was going to mention in the roundtable, I really forgot. A lot of his game relies around putting, so I'm a little nervous, but right now he's playing pretty well. Made the cut again last week is Michael Thompson.
Wow.
He's 90 to 1. He's a guy that I don't know when the little streak's going to run out, so I may be willing to just bet him and not do DraftKings.
Bucks, anything on that?
Yeah, so I actually dug into Michael Thompson pretty deep this afternoon because he's a guy that I've been on, really like, especially when he put in like last 24 rounds, he pops off the charts. But when you look at the rolling report, last 12, 8, and 4, Thompson is struggling as you get closer to current status. So I might have a sprinkle of him because I do like how his game suits his course, but he is not trending in the right direction. That being said, in this range, Gup already mentioned Kang. The only other guy is the Postman. He's at 80 I'm seeing, so he's one that I would throw a few bucks on.
Yep. I've got no one else highlighted in that range right now. I've got nothing in there. You can get Michael Thompson 100 on Bovada. So,
Gotcha.
How about above that? So anything above that, Gup?
Neiman's my FOMO every week, so I'll probably have him bet 125. KH Lee's 150. That's going to be a bet. I hadn't posted it yet, but it will be. Vaughn Taylor, not Nick this week, was one that kind of caught my eye at 200. I heard him. He may have been as high as 300. I don't know where he is on Bovada, but
I'll look for you.
200 is.
That's what he is on Bovada. Yep.
Yeah, I don't mind that. So he's potentially will be a long shot. One long shot I did release earlier with Sung Jae was Dylan Meyer, 500 to 1.
I like that. Yeah.
I like him. I like his game. I think this is a type of course that as he grows into his career that we'll look back and say that's where he can excel. And so I mean, he's not. I'm not going to go build a 1,500 country club with him or anything. But in some of the 3 maxes for me, he may flirt with my pool as a long shot. Definitely, if I'm building 10 or 20, I'm going to throw a couple of lineups with him. But for 500 to 1, I don't know if he's still there or not. But
yeah, he is.
Okay, yeah, I released it. Yeah, released it earlier, so that'd be a nice little payday if you can get up there. And if I'm in Canada or wherever those people can do the each way, I'd be all over that.
Yeah, I bet you can get a good top 20 on him eventually once those come out.
Yep.
How about you, Bucks?
Yeah, I like the Meyer play. I mean, you can't argue the value there. So, but 2 others or 3 others, Freddie Jakobsen at 300, Svensson at 300. Those are 2 guys that I've been on earlier this year that I think are solid. And then one guy who has flashed in the past is Mackenzie Hughes at 300 to 1.
Yep. Yeah, I've got Damon at 125, and then I'm with you on the Neiman FOMO one. I'll probably just tail all yours, Gup. But then obviously my stupid wasted $10 of the week will be JJ Spawn at 250 to 1, of course. Even after the withdrawal, I'm not scared. Probably won't play him on DraftKings though. But hey, I wasn't mad though. At least when he withdrew. Come on, I didn't have any on DraftKings. I just hope he gets better
this week.
He's at the Tampa Bay Lightning game I saw today on Instagram. Like, he's having a good time. Good for him. One and done now. I obviously that storm last week, and I messed up and didn't. I submitted them and thought they saved, and the storm messed it up, and that's my fault. The one that got saved though was for ours, so I have 2.03 million. I had DJ Bucks. You got 2.001. So me and you are neck and neck, and Gup still ahead of us at 4.75. Bucks, who's your pick this week?
I just want to note I had Tiger in our deal, and I had Rory in my 2 other.
You had 2 Rorys, yeah.
2 Rorys. All right. Yeah. This week, I do not have DJ left. I do not have who the hell else was I looking at? DJ. Oh, and Garcia. I don't have either of them in any of mine, and so I am 100% on the full Kisner train this week.
And Gup, how about you?
Yeah, this was tough for me because I had Woodland and Garcia for this lineup kind of penciled in a couple of weeks ago. Hadn't used either one since. Now they're both right there in the betting DK. And so I love both of them. I think I'm going to be heavier on Garcia and DraftKings, so I'm going to go Woodland for my one and done right here.
I don't think I've used this guy. I don't think so. I'm checking right now just to make sure, because I've obviously messed that up before. No, I have not. I'm going to use Webb Simpson here. Thought Webb played good at the end. I'm going to use Webb. So, all righty. Let's get in real quick now. Reminder to join us for the Emergency 9 on Wednesday at 9 Eastern on GupsCorner.com. We obviously do it on the website separate from the Slack so that people can see the printout of that as well after that. But we are also in the Slack if you are a premium member. It's pretty awesome. It's pretty popping in there. A lot of great guys that know a lot now. We also have that price for life deal, the Blue Jack offer. So for the premium chats, please get in there for the premium members. Reminder that if you like us on Facebook, if you follow us on Instagram, if you follow us on Twitter, if you subscribe to our YouTube channel, or you leave a review for us, you are entered into a $250 prize pack that is awesome. We've got stuff from Torrey Pines. We've got stuff from the players. We got stuff from the Honda. I think we're working on getting stuff from the Masters. We have some new GupsCorner shirts, I believe, that we'll probably throw in one of those.
I have a Masters flag that I will be throwing in there as well. I'll save this one for a different one, but I've got a sweet signed flag that I don't really need anymore. So I'll save that for later. We'll do another giveaway later. But from the Masters?
It's not from the Masters, no. But it's another.
If it's JJ Spawn, just throw it in the dumpster.
It's a major winner, so I will leave it at that. But it is a major winner. All right.
Definitely not JJ Spawn.
It's not JJ Spawn since he hasn't won the Puerto Rico Open yet. Okay. We're still working on that one. All right. But anything else you guys want to mention there, Gup? The bracketless bracket challenge. Sorry.
No. One note I had, and just and this kind of stuff will come out in the deep dive for the community, but it did catch my eye because I have a feeling you're going to hear a lot about putting this week and how important it is. And I did go back and look, and just for an instance, and this isn't do running backs matter or anything like that. I believe in putting can matter at certain times. I definitely believe in the splits between POA and Bermuda, but last year on this track, there were a ton of people where putting was huge. And I think those guys are going to, when you just look at totals and rankings, make it look like it's more important than what it is. And what I mean by that, I think you said Burns gained like 10 strokes last year.
Over 10, yeah.
I don't know what he finished, but I do know that 6 of the top 16 out here last year, final positions in the tournament, lost strokes putting for the entire tournament. So this is a course where there's more than one way to win. I wouldn't look at anytime you hear a grand number, a big number, how much something matters. I would always dive into who's making up those numbers, because in some cases there could be people that are diluting it that really didn't matter. And so at the end of the day, deep dive is a big deal. And kind of with that, last week I've been working on an article for a while and released it late before the players, 11-page, 4,000-word article. The feedback on that's been amazing. I didn't really ask for any, but there's been a lot of great comments. Many people saying it was worth just the membership alone. If you do join, and I mentioned in my article tonight, that's the first thing I would start with, because it kind of gives you just an insight. And it wasn't telling people this is exactly how you have to do it, because that's not our philosophy, but it gives you ideas on – it's no different than what I do. I observe a lot. I pick up things from everybody in the community, Bucks, Mayo, Feinberg, little things that they've done in the last few years that I would pick up on and add to my routine that kind of gave me where I am today, and kind of walk through a lot of with guys in the last 12 to 18 hours on very frustrated, mad, lost, and I just can't preach enough that golf, and we said this in our pods at the beginning of the year before the season started, that you can't expect to win every week. It's just not possible, and eventually you're going to have cold streaks, and if you're trusting your process and your bankroll management, it's going to pay off in the end. And that's why I kind of woke up today the way I did, fresh, and trust me, I was pissed last night. First of all, I was driving on I-35 South there in spring break traffic, so that was a nightmare in itself. But outside of that, I was mad because it was a bad week, and and I'm working through all the things I made a mistake on. And I talk about this in my process but after I kind of went through everything, there wasn't a lot that I really hated. I moved on, except for Furyk. That was the one. And I got over it and up this morning and ready to get on to the next week. And I think a lot of people, if you take that mentality, you'll have better success long term.
Yes, that's very good. Thank you for that, Gup. Anything from you there, Bucks?
No, not really. I mean, I would say read Gup's article, but 2, remember that we have last week, this week, golf in itself is a high variance sport. I mean, there's a lot of different things that can happen, and anybody on tour can win any given week if they just heat up at the right time. And so it's more important, I believe, in golf than any other sport to practice bankroll management, especially when you consider that we have the Masters, the U.S. Open, the British Open. They're all coming up here in the next few months. You don't get trigger happy just because something looks good now. You need to practice some self-control, and it's hard to do that at times, but it's something to definitely consider, something to be conscious of. It's going to help you in the long run because you're going to have, especially if you are a GPP-only player or a high percentage of GPP entries, you're going to win a very small percentage of your weeks. You're just hoping that those small percentage weeks make up a large chunk of your annual winnings. And so practice bankroll management, enjoy yourself, enjoy the process, and actually watch the golf. Don't just build a lineup and do your thing. Watching golf will help you really get a key on some guys that may not pop in the stat model, but they're one or two swings or putts away from doing something special.
You heard it there first, everybody. Anybody can win.
One thing I forgot. I will be at the WGC next week. JB's I know will be in from Maine with his wife. ADHD, who's part of the community, will be over there as well. I will be at the Valero the week after. I know at least a couple GupsCorner contributors, members, maybe more are coming. So we'll have those details out on what days we'll be there and where to find us if you want to hook up or, have a drink. For sure we'll be there Wednesday and Thursday next week. JB's there both days. I'm locked in for Wednesday, hoping for Thursday. I'll know tomorrow. But we'll all be there Wednesday for opening day. And if people ask why, you have to remember on the match play, it's better to go Wednesday through Friday because it's more spread out with all the guys playing the match play, where on the weekend you have 4 or 5 groups and you got 20,000 people trying to follow them. So that's why we're locking in Wednesday, Thursday when it's all, we got all the matches going. So looking forward to that.
Awesome. Yeah. Just a reminder, everybody, get your one and done picks in, get your GC Cups reserved, and then the bracketless bracket challenge before Thursday. If you're going to get in there, make sure to submit those before Thursday. What am I missing? Anything else there?
No, sir.
All righty. We will see you guys next time. Until then, get your study on and have fun doing it, and we all will talk later.
SmashFactor.